Hey, it's Danny here from Flags and Fun. This is episode 2 of our series, um, where we talk about some interesting countries, or at least countries that I find interesting. Hopefully, you do as well. Um, and a bit of history of their flags. This one is going to be less like our last episode, which was on Ireland, focusing on the different kind of flags and how it distinguish the country's history. This one is going to be more on just the country history itself, um, which is, as you'll see right here, South Sudan. Now, you probably don't know anything about South Sudan. Maybe the one thing that you do know is that South Sudan is the youngest country, sovereign country recognized by the UN, with only establishing independence in 2011. So you're probably older than it. Hopefully you're older. I don't know why you would be younger, but at least watching this. Um, so let's just go right into this information. So I'll be referring to Sudan. When I refer to Sudan, I'll explain when I'm doing it as either the whole of Sudan or that northern portion of Sudan that split off from South Sudan, because that northern portion is still just called Sudan and not North Sudan, if that makes sense. Um, so right now, just like in like around before South Sudan split, Sudan as a whole, when South Sudan was combined, was the largest country in Africa. It was about a quarter of the U.S. and um, this country, you know, goes back really, really far, and it goes back all the way to this Kush Empire. That's what it was called. Um, Now, the geographical location of Sudan is it's right next to the Nile River, and we know that Egypt was also right by the Nile River, and they were both super culturally and economically and ethnically like intertwined in that time. The Kush Empire, or Sudan now, spoke the language. They had the same, very similar religion. Um, they were both just super intertwined together. Um, and that really doesn't have much to do with now, but you can kind of just see how that whole region was a bit more connected in the past. Um, Now, later on, moving forward, um, Ethiopia got had a little bit of control over it as well. The Assyrian Empire, a lot of these empires that came in and then took control of those whole regions, took control of this northern part of Sudan, and you'll see how that kind of created this problem. So mainly started off with the Ottoman Empire. Now, the Ottoman Empire was another Muslim gunpowder empire. They were really prominent in the Middle East and like South just east all of East Asia during the 14th, 15th centuries. The Ottoman even lasted until the 18th century, I believe. There was one of three. It was Ottoman, the Safavids, and the Mughals. Shout out Miss Sharkey again for AP World teaching. Um, and so the really important thing to take away from this is this Ottoman Empire was super Islamic. They had the whole um, Islamic based government. All of religion was Islamic. Although they did accept some, but that doesn't matter. Um, so what's really important to know is that the Ottomans, when they took control of the northern part of Africa, they only controlled up to the boundary of South Sudan. So all of that North Sudan, or just as it is called presently, um, just Sudan, um, was completely Muslim, which is going to cause some conflicts later on when this Anglo-Egyptian condominium um, is brought in. Now, I'll explain what a condominium is. A condominium is like a colony of a colony. All right. So the British had a colony in Egypt at the time, and Egypt had a colony given by the British, um, which was then Sudan. Now, the Egyptian part, the part that Egypt controlled of this condominium, was that whole northern modern days just regular Sudan. Britain, which had another colony in Kenya, which was south of Sudan, controlled the southern part of Sudan. And now, British obviously being European and Christian, you can see how that shaped that southern Sudan area, which then this religious conflict caused all of this, because they were very, um, violent towards each other. And so this condominium lasted until the end of 1972, when the first Sudanese war ended. Um, then, only 11 years after, in 1983, the second Sudanese war, civil war, occurred, and lasted for a really long time, all the way up to 2005, where it ended with this comprehensive peace agreement. So basically, what this did is it ended this conflicts between them, because a lot of people had died, and it also gave a Southern Sudanese independence referendum, which basically what it did was it lasted 6 years, where South Sudan was independent, and then after those 6 years, they were going to be given a vote about whether they wanted to remain independent or wanted to join back with Sudan. And after that 6 years, almost the whole country, I believe it was like 98.3%, voted for independence from Sudan. Um, and that happened in 2011. They became an official country on September 3rd. Um, and that's where they are now. Now, not all is all just happily ever after there. South Sudan is really struggling with internal conflicts, corruption, and just continued wars with Sudan and other um, countries around, where they're really struggling. And you can see anywhere in the news of South Sudan where it really isn't good stuff. It's just bad things. And um, ending it off on, I guess, a bad note, because, this brand new country, and it's really struggling a lot. But I'm sure hopefully we'll see in the present, the people, um, you just see better for the population, and peace. Um, so that's really it. It shouldn't be that long of a video, and I hope you have an amazing day.